Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So, these are my thoughts on the match that happened last night, which obviously finished Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 2. Wish we got a third, but obviously we'll talk about that later on. Um, and I mean, yeah, it was a huge match. I didn't really go in with any confidence. I kind of thought we'd lose, especially after that humiliating defeat and capitulation against Arsenal last week. Um, but yeah, it was a phenomenal match, and it was a real like properly a story of two halves. Poor in the first, brilliant in the second. But anyway, so in goal we had Petrovic. On the right we had Chalobah. Our centre backs were Thiago Silva and Badiashile, and Cucurella on the left. Caicedo and Gallagher as our midfield. Obviously, Enzo had surgery recently, so he's out for the rest of the season. We had Cole Palmer just in front of them. On the right, we had Noni. Left, we had Mudrick, and on up front, we had Jackson. Um, and it was a really, 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 really bad start. I mean, it was shocking. Last week we conceded a goal in the first 4 minutes against Arsenal, which was poor, and it was down our right hand side. This week we conceded uh, a goal even earlier than that, a goal around the same time, and it was an own goal. Again, Paul cuts down our right hand side. Just it was too easy for them to get the ball in. I can't remember which Aston Villa player it was. Has a shot. It's not going on target. It hits Cucurella. Can't do anything about it. Fair enough. It goes in. When it's going against you, it's just going against you. But after that, I mean, I was slightly worried we were going to completely capitulate. So I was very content that we didn't. We eased our way in the game. We slowly started playing better and better and better. Um, but the frustrating thing is, Aston Villa was so defensively resolute. Um, I mean, they're a very, very, very well coached side. Emery is an amazing manager, and Chelsea really struggle with a defensive block. So there was no space for our players to go through when we had possession. And this Chelsea team are not a great team for possession. They are much better as a counter-attacking team simply because most of our wingers and our attack are very pacey, and we enjoy hitting teams on the counter-attack and getting in behind that way. So when we have when we have a lot of possession like we were going to after we go 1-0 down, this team is just not good at that. Um, and it was frustrating because we had all the ball, but we didn't really create anything. Um, and you just couldn't really break that Aston Villa defence. There was one moment when we did. We actually broke their line. So great ball over the top. Jackson is through on goal. Excellent finish. Don't know where that was last week or at the cup semi final. Brilliant finish, but typical. He was just offside, and it's one of those things. He just went slightly too early, and yeah, typical that he scored. It was a brilliant finish, but yeah, didn't count. Um, and then not that long after, ball comes into the box, free header for Jackson, heads it, hits the post from a few yards out. I mean, you've got to score. He had to score that. That was an easier chance than the one he scored. Typical. Uh, but the one horrible, nerve-wracking thing with this, with the way that we were playing, was we dominated the ball. But again, Villa were fine with that. But it just whenever the turnover happened and Villa got hold of possession, they could then hit us in the counter attack, and they had players like Ollie Watkins who are very pacey and very good and in brilliant form. So whenever were running out of defence, there was always a uncomfortable situation. Um, and it looked like it was kind of going out to a 1-0 lead at half time, and then I think the youngster Rogers scores just a brilliant goal. I mean, it was brilliant. I mean, brilliant on Villa's end. It was some great build-up play to get to that opportunity. Poor from Chelsea's end. Poor defensively, and Petrovic I feel should have done better. Um, but yeah, I mean, for me, I thought the game was done at that point. I thought it was a really poor performance from us in front of goal. All the possession, but didn't really do anything. And Villa showed that you don't really need much possession to score goals. So yeah, we went into half time 2-0 down. and it was, yeah, really frustrating, really frustrating. Um, so yeah, into the second half. So I mean, for me, at this point, I'm thinking the game's done. They're 2-0 up, obviously scored right at the start of the first half and right at the start of the second half. I'm obviously thinking the game's done. We haven't been good enough. This has been one of our poor performances. All I wanted from the second half was a little bit of fight from the players, create a few more opportunities, and maybe we can get something, and also not to capitulate like we did against Arsenal. Um, but I was so impressed. I was so impressed because we came out in the second half, and normally with this team, the first 15 minutes of the second half are just awful. We normally concede or almost concede. But no, this was like a completely different team out there. This was a team that played with real high intensity. All of a sudden, we were beating them to every second ball. The link-up play between all the front four seemed to really work. It really looked like the team who played in preseason. And I don't know why it took like 9 months for us to see this, but it was just a completely different performance. And this really was a story of two different halves. But in the second half, we just started to completely control the match. We started to push them back further and further and further. It got to the point where all they could do when they got the ball was clear it. And it would just come back to one of our defenders. We'd recycle it and then we'd try and create another opportunity. Um, and then it got to the point where we pushed them back so far that whenever we got the ball from them, if it wasn't a clearance, if it was just taking the ball from one of them, it would normally be in a dangerous area and we create an opportunity. And our first goal comes from that. We nicked the ball from them right outside the box, past the Madawiki, and he just scored into the bottom corner. And it was just a brilliant goal. Extremely well taken finish. And that was around the 60th minute. And you're just thinking to yourself, there's half an hour left. If we can get a goal before, I don't know, the 80th minute, who knows? And it was incredible because for the next 10 or so minutes we just completely dominated the ball. Didn't really create that much, but we were just piling on the pressure. And around the 80th minute, I mean, Conor Gallagher, what a goal! What a goal! He scored some screamers this season for Chelsea, but this was incredible. Right at the edge of the box, all the Villa players back off from him, and he just has a shot, top right hand corner. I mean, it's unsavable, and what an incredible moment for him as well because 2-2 going into the last 10 minutes of the match. I mean, I really at that point I really felt that we were going to win it. I'd done like a 180. At that point, the 81st minute when we scored the equaliser, I thought if any team's going to win it, it's going to be us because we're just dominating them and we're suffocating them in their own half. And it was just it's a frustrating one because this just this match just epitomizes this season. So inconsistent. We were poor in the first half and we conceded 2 goals and just caused a real difficult moment for ourselves. And in the second half, we're phenomenal. I mean, we started playing like that team who did in preseason, where everyone got really excited about what this team could do and what this team could achieve. But yeah, I mean, going into the last 10 minutes, for me, again, I just thought we played excellently, and it's a frustrating one because obviously right before, I mean, right, I think it was like the 91st minute or so, 92nd minute, mistake from the Aston Villa defence. Palmer's the through on goal, and if you want any one of our players to have the ball one on one at the last few minutes of the match, you want Palmer to be that guy. And I mean, he forces a great save from Olsen, but he needs to score that, and normally he does. He didn't have a great game. Normally he scores that. Obviously, we get a corner, and from the resulting corner, I mean, we should have scored the winner. We should have scored the winner. Ball goes in, goes over everyone, and then it bounces, and Badiashile nudges, I think it was Diego Carlos off the ball, and then he has control of the ball, sends it back in. Disassi scores, and it's one of those moments where you get so excited, but at the same time you're thinking, okay, straight. My first thought was he offside or something like that? Because VAR obviously going to look at everything. As soon as he saw it wasn't offside, it was just such a brilliant feeling. And then and then when they said they were looking for a foul, And if you see the replay of it, you knew they were going to give it. You knew that they were going to give it. It's so frustrating. Obviously, the Arsenal games happened today against Spurs, and it makes last night even more frustrating because in was it Arsenal's third goal, corner comes in, Havertz, two hands on the back of his opponent, pushes his opponent. I think it was Van der Ven, pushes Van der Ven out the way and heads the ball, and that was given as a goal, no issue. But Badia Shill literally uses his shoulder, nudges him out of the way, gains control of the ball, and that's given as a foul. The inconsistencies this season have been so frustrating because it should have been a goal. Newcastle's goal against Arsenal. Newcastle's goal against Arsenal back in October, November. I can't remember. I think it was like Joe Linton or something like that. Can't remember which Newcastle player, but he's literally all over Gabriel and uses his arms to push him down. Newcastle get the goal. Like, yeah, and the VAR has been brought in to specifically do like massive errors, to fix massive errors. Basically, it's not there to re-referee incidents like this. And you can see, I think it's Craig Pawson who's a ref. He's looking straight at the incident, and he decides there's nothing wrong with it. And then we carry on and we score. But the second he gets sent over to the monitor, you just know he's going to change his mind. So far, I don't think I've seen a single referee this season go to the monitor and stick with their original decision. It's so frustrating to see it because you know the second they get sent over there, they've already made the decision in their head to change their mind. And it really robbed us of such an incredible comeback as well. But anyway, so we have a few big games coming up. Um, Still really frustrating, but again, positives you can take from the performance. If we play like we did in the second half, we have a good chance of winning all our remaining games. Obviously, the big game is I think on Thursday against Spurs against Stamford Bridge. We have to beat them just in general. But currently, we played one less game than United and Newcastle, and I think we're about 6 points off United and about 5 points off Newcastle, and both of those two teams play each other, and they both have difficult fixtures. So Chelsea still have a slight chance of getting a Conference League or Europa League, but in order for either one of those to happen, have to beat Spurs on Thursday. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all on Thursday when we have hopefully beaten Spurs at Stamford Bridge.